the president opted for diplomacy, but there's worries in the region and Europe as well that the ballistic missile development and Iran's interference in the region might not be addressed or linked to the nuclear file. Can you assure us that actually this is the case? Because there are worries that actually you're very eager to secure a deal and you're going to leave this behind like it happened in 2015.
Well, first, the president's Iran is a long way from compliance, as you well know, from covering this issue quite closely. And the president has been clear that if Iran comes back into full compliance with its obligations, we will do the same, and of course then use that as a platform to build a longer and stronger agreement, including addressing ballistic missiles and many of the concerns that, as you noted, countries in the region, our European partners have about the actions of Iran. But we are not at that point. The point we are at is that the United States has expressed an openness to an invitation to have a diplomatic conversation.
So as the Secretary of State, you are a chief diplomat. So let me ask you this, Mike, and this is what concerns me. They acknowledge that the Iranians are not in compliance, but it's not as if this agreement with the Iranians went away. It was just the U.S., your administration, correctly pulled out of it. So they were not in compliance while the Europeans were engaged in it.
Jay, that's exactly right. You know, when I hear that, oh, if they just come back into compliance, we'll give, what he really means when she says they'll come back into compliance, it means we will give them a bunch of money. We'll have business. We'll create wealth for the Ayatollah and his kleptocrats and theocrats that are running the country. It's precisely what we didn't do. They're going to give away all of the leverage we've created, everything that would cause the Iranians to potentially consider working to diminish their missile program or constraining their militias and their terror against Israel and the United States. None of that's going to happen if they accede to the Iranians' demands. I saw, Jay, just one more point. I saw that they now think they're going to try and ask the administration for something near $1 trillion in, quote, reparations, end of quote. That's crazy. The pressure campaign that we put in place was the right course of action. I hope that they'll come to see that that's the only way to get the Iranians to negotiate is through strength and not weakness.
I want to give people some hope here, and that is, despite what this administration's predilections may be, which is to try to get back into a deal here, what the American people can do to let it be known that we don't want to go back to where it was. And we know that the Iranian people, as you said, don't like this regime that they have in control either. So how do we get their voices heard while this is going on?
So there's lots of ways to do it. It's the reason that we all need to work so hard now more than ever as part of this organization and others that are working to make sure that we get this policy right. Let your voices be heard. Let those elected officials know. Write letters to the editor. All the things that we do, sign petitions, all the things we do to communicate that we can't go back to where we were with respect to Iran back in 2015.